Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Construct Strategically Yarns with Andy. Today I've got Farzam with me. Farzam's a very passionate BIM specialist and a digital engineer. So let's hear from Farzam. Hey, mate, how's it going?
Very good. Thank you for having me today.
Thank you so much for making the time to be here. I really appreciate it. Tell us a little bit more about yourself. What do you do?
Sure thing. As you mentioned, my name is Farzam, and my journey started approximately 17 years ago that I did a course construction and production in Middle East. And since then, I'm in construction industry and I never did anything out of this industry. That helped me to have a really good understanding about what's happening in construction. But at the same time, I don't have any clue about what's happening around the world.
Right. How did you get into digital engineering?
A really good question. My experiences is like a salad, to be honest. It's a mishmash of everything.
That's interesting. Tell me more.
At the start of my career, for the first 3 years, I work on site. And as a site assistant, fresh out of uni. And I remember the first day that I went to site, I found out that I know nothing.
Yeah.
Everything that I learned 3 years at uni is good. But I just learned about basic academic information. But in a real life, the story is different. And that literally, I'm really grateful for that opportunity because that shaped my mentality about construction, my understanding about importance of collaborations, about role of practicality. And after 3 years working on site, I moved for 2 years working really closely with design teams.
Yep. Okay.
And that purely was because of that experience on site and my passion about connecting what's happening on site and bring that experience and making the design as practical as possible.
Yeah.
During that time, working on...
When you say design as practical as possible...
Exactly.
Just help me define that a bit more. What's, in your words,
sure thing.
What's design as practical as possible?
Sure thing.
Because I have a version of that.
Yeah.
I'm happy to share that after you.
Yeah. The first month I was on site, we had a massive explosion. And
you say explosion?
Explosion. It was a person that was cutting...
Not in New Zealand, right?
No, it was in Middle East.
Okay.
A person was cutting a piece of steel, and the reason behind that was that the fabrication of that structural frame wasn't coordinated properly, because the coordination during that time mostly was in a 2D space. And that lack of coordination resulted that someone needs to go at a 9-meter height, cut piece of steel. And that unfortunately, an explosion happened. And that explosion put that person 9 months in hospital. And I'm still in contact with that person, and we are close friends, and he still suffers.
Of course he does.
And that literally shapes me, that what is missing in construction is proper practical coordination. How we design that we do not do redo on site, how we can collaborate, how literally utilizing technologies, computers, to build what needs to happen on site once in computer, to test that, to identify errors, to resolve errors. And when we are going to go on site, we have good information that we do not to redo things. It won't be any surprise on site. And that is going to have impact on time frame, on program, on health and safety. And that shaped literally my perspective about what is missing in
That's a crazy story.
Yeah.
I really hope your friend's okay. And I'm really glad we live in New Zealand.
Yeah.
With the importance of health and safety we give in New Zealand, I don't think any other country gives that much importance to health and safety. And I think you and I are both lucky to be here.
Yeah, completely agree. But I don't believe it's enough.
You don't believe it's enough?
Yeah, every month.
What can we do differently?
Every month we lose 2 people in construction. It's happening. And
is that a validated fact?
Yeah. It was literally on news about a month ago. And if that is still happening in New Zealand construction industry, every month we're losing 2 people. The reason behind that is we have lots of procedures, standards, but often it's just purely for ticking the boxes. We often set up values, but we are not practicing values to the bone. And that's one of the issues that I believe, something like better coordination that can happen based on creating a structured information And digital engineering is a process that can help that, can have a better impact on health and
Help
safety.
me understand how exactly. I want to dig into this a bit more.
Yeah,
Help me
sure.
understand how BIM and health and safety have a direct
Are
impact on
connected.
one another.
Yeah. One of our recent projects in water sector, we are established a very mature digital environment for design and construction. And that site has a specific challenges, has a really high risk environment, high risk areas. And traditionally, we had work inductions that it was a paperwork, people or online induction that people need to go and read something 20 minutes before they go to site and just tick the boxes and after that they forget about it.
Yeah.
The way that we tackled that challenge, we utilized that fully coordinated 3D environment, digital environment, and we created a flyover, taking people to site, identifying all those high-risk areas.
Digitally.
Digitally, they can't see it in their phone. It's literally, imagine a 3 minutes or 4 minutes video, and highlight all the areas, even where they need to park their car, even when they drive, where are the high-risk area in terms of driving to site. If there are asbestos on site, where are those areas? If there is a close to the high voltage areas or equipments, where those equipments are located.
So what you're doing is you're creating a visual environment where people can understand in a very short video what the high risks are on site and the exclusion zones on site.
Exactly.
That's life changing.
Yeah. We just want them to go to site before they go to site and they experience it. And the change is because they can see it.
Yeah.
They can read about some of the issues.
100%. The way we consume information has completely changed today. It's no more documents. It's all videos and visual and TikTok. You know, that's how people start consuming information. So which is awesome. Right? This is great. Is that something you won awards for? I know you won about 2 or 3 awards. I just want to touch on that a little bit.
Yeah, sure thing.
Yeah.
There are 3 awards, and 2 of them is just purely for one of the projects that we had a really compacted time frame.
Yeah.
And it's really funny that we come up with the really smart solutions in terms of improving collaboration, but we didn't plan for it.
Right.
The need of doing something different pushed us to make a change, because often, let me talk about change from my perspective. Change in construction, I believe, happens under 4 circumstances, and that's based on 16 years experience.
4 circumstances.
4 circumstances, and that is just purely based on my experience in 3 corners of the board. The lowest level of it, we change when we must change. When we suffer too much that there is no other way, that we need to go and come up with something new. As an example, COVID happened. And to be able to survive, we need to mobilize all the teams to work from homes. And that happened within 2 weeks.
Yeah.
We learned really quickly and we mobilized.
You're left to
the
no
whole
choice.
country started working from home. Imagine if that was the scenario that people wanted to develop a guideline for it, wanted to study the fundamentals and foundations that we need to do it. It took years of studies, years of developing guidelines and requirements, and spending millions of dollars. And after that, we just come up with some solution that even didn't work. We needed to change. We must change because of requirements, and we ended up to change in 2 weeks. The one level higher than that is we change when we see something that inspires us to change. I remember 7 years ago in Middle East, the first time I saw a drone, and they were talking about the drone, they want to use it for surveying. For me, those people came from different universe. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
But look at now.
Yeah.
It's a BAU.
Yeah, it's
normal.
Yeah.
There's no significant guidelines for it. No one trying to sell it. The reason that change happened because everyone saw it and inspired to change.
And it makes your life better. Adds value to your life.
Exactly.
I mean,
it's
smarter,
easy,
faster, better.
practical, faster, and that changed the mindset.
Sure.
The next level of change from my perspective is that change happens when we receive requirements and we can change. As an example, you're one of the best programmers that we have in the country.
I'm not.
And if you can receive good digital information, you can connect that digital information to your work breakdown structure.
100%.
And you can share it in a really easy way with everyone that's the sequencing that needs to happen on site.
Exactly like how you create the safety videos is how I focus on creating 4D models to articulate the methodology.
Exactly. So if you receive information,
you good structured information. Let me be very specific about it.
No.
I need structured information just as you need structured information.
Exactly.
Right. Okay.
Exactly.
Interesting. Let's go to the fourth one.
And the highest level of change is that when we learn enough, when we empower enough, that we want to change. And that's what's happening in some of our sectors, some of our projects. That the project that you mentioned that I won an award for it was that we changed, but at the same time, we really focused on education, empowering, sharing processes.
Innovation.
And collectively, design teams, construction teams, clients, sub-consultants, suppliers, we came to the conclusions that after that, we learned enough that we wanted to change.
You can make things better.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that continuous improvement that was happening. And after that, the next job that happened in that specific water sector is that we have now information that can improve health and safety. People can go to site without really go to site. They can see all those challenges first in the phone, and after that, it will be in their brain. And we made it internally as a requirement that people need to go through it as they tick the box. But the feedback that received, the value that they can get out of that 3 minutes visual induction is 2,000 times better than 40 pages.
100%. It's how you can consume that information, which you got to keep up with the rest of the world. Do you believe the construction sector is lagging behind on how we consume information?
In construction, from productivity perspective, we are the lowest compared to any other industry in the world. Even farming.
I do not find it hard to believe.
Yeah, even farming is more productive.
Oh, mate, farming's an industry that's well advanced in New Zealand. Very well advanced in terms of technology, innovation, growth. They're doing great things.
Construction industry consume most of resources in the world, natural resources, and at the same time is a big contribution to the waste. And consequently carbon footprint.
Oh yeah, we do use the most unsustainable product, which is concrete. Because you pour concrete once it's cured, that product's non-reusable.
Yeah. And the only way that we survive is that focusing on structured information, focusing on developing data that can help us to plan better, make better decision, and also recycle information during life cycle of one facility, rather than focusing on just 2 or 3 years or 1 year design and build, focusing on 30 years, 40 years a facility or a building or a road or wastewater treatment plant that needs to operate.
And more importantly, from my perspective, that structured information would help manage the change that you spoke about better.
Exactly.
Because which is what I deal with on a day-to-day basis as a planner. I just go, right, I need to manage change. Because change is the only constant, right? I'm trying to manage change and I'm going, right, I need the information to kind of manage change, and the structured information is often not available on most projects, which is a big challenge.
But the reason behind that, is that I believe we often focus on a very short period of time in terms of results and values. We always think about the values within a specific stage of a project or within a specific project, rather than focusing on what is going to happen during 30 years. The value that developing a structured information require a little bit of more work upfront, but that decisions that we can make at the commencement of a project or even establishment an idea can add so much value later on in the project.
I fully agree. So when I started strategic planning, I said, what's the one thing that I really want to focus on? What's the one value that I can add to companies? And I went, okay, then I came up with this little drawing. It's on my website. It's just something I came up with overnight. You know, I've been trying to explain the correlation between time, cost, design, or 3D model. I'm very specific. I actually call it a model breakdown structure, right? Rather than design, because when you say design, it could be 2D. And it's not that. Focusing on a 3D model, and most importantly, the people. And articulating the correlation is, and I call it diamond project modeling. And if we can get all of them aligned, working to the same demarcation areas, designs come out in the same zones, which is then assigned to a person to then deliver that zone and understand the interrelatability between those zones, and focusing on cost exactly the same way. So literally, my whole life revolves around structured information and the importance of structured information, and the value of that is immense.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's really well understood
Yeah.
in the construction industry, especially in New Zealand. And I think let me ask you another question.
Sure.
How do we get the New Zealand construction industry to better understand the value structured information provides?
Yep.
I mean, you're a digital engineer,
Yes.
and we've spoken the importance of structured information. Now, how do we translate that to real value?
Yep. The issue that we are facing currently, when you search about digital engineering, digital transformation, you see heaps of guidelines and procedures. And I worked on one simple project, and I found that there are about 1,000 pages of induction and procedures and structure, and no one can understand.
Yeah.
Digital engineering is supposed to make things simple and practical.
Yep.
But often it's not the case. People like Farzam wants to make things as gloomy as possible, because they may think that if something cannot be understandable very easily, it's not something significant. But in reality, to make something, implementing something that is simple and easy to understand for everyone is really hard. It's not easy.
It takes a lot of time, energy, and effort.
To convert a good guideline, good idea, and move it to the practical point and simplify it and implement it, that's the piece that we are missing. We often think that digital transformation is about a fancy guideline, but that is just, from my perspective,
it's only
1%.
Yeah.
All of that is about implementation and continuous improvement.
Yeah, and translating it to outputs that add real value in real life. But that's where we lack, I believe.
Exactly.
Massively lack in the whole industry.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because often, or we can say sometimes,
Yeah.
we are leaders or people who never worked even on one day on site developing guidelines and procedures because they have a digital title, or they work in some part of the career, they're working in digital. But in reality, from my perspective, doers that are going to challenge all those technical issues on day-to-day basis are major thinkers, because they can make things happen. They can make things implementable on site or at the end of the operation.
Interesting. Okay, let's pause there. I want to ask you another question.
Sure.
So based on our conversation, a lot of people have different views on what BIM means to them, building information modeling.
Yeah.
Right. There's multiple views on what it is, and what's building information modeling to you as a digital engineer? What does that mean to you? Okay, explain it to me like a layman would understand it.
Sure.
Yeah. What's BIM?
In one sentence.
Sure. That's even better.
Yeah. Merging people and technology to create better information. It's all about, nothing beyond.
Can you repeat that?
It's merging people and technology to create better information.
Right.
It's all about. It's not a concept.
Yeah.
It's a solution. It's a process. How we can develop information during design that we can use it for programming.
Yep.
We can use
100%.
it for consequencing.
Yeah.
We can use it for health and safety.
For sure.
We can use it for commissioning. And later on, we hand over to operation team.
Use it for maintenance.
Use it for maintenance. It's just a process of respecting creation of structured information.
So how much effort is required to implement a good system like you just defined on, say, $100 million project? Let's talk about a water project or a vertical job, which is a 12-story building or a 40-story building. Doesn't matter. Concept's the same. How difficult is it? What are the challenges you go through to implement BIM?
From cost perspective,
Yeah.
going BIM or digital based does not add anything to cost, because it changed the concept.
It doesn't add anything to cost.
Anything cost. And
How?
the reason behind that is, let's go the project that you need to develop for, and you need to have 200 drawings.
200 what?
200 drawings. As an example,
Yeah.
paperworks, etc.
Yeah.
What digital engineering helps is minimize that total number of drawings And one of our recent projects, we minimized it by 50%.
Interesting.
When you compare it to the previous project that delivered a year and a half ago, that 200 drawings reduced to 100 drawings.
Okay. So now, let's say hypothetically, I had Matt was on my podcast earlier, and he said he doesn't get any digital files. And I went, what?
Yes.
He works with pipeline and civil, and he doesn't get. I was mind blown that he doesn't get any 3D files. But now, let's say there's a steel manufacturing company, right? Okay. Can he take the 3D model that you developed and develop shop drawings from that 3D model? Is that happening today? Or first, is that possible? And two, is that happening?
From 3 years ago, even we worked with Matt on one job that we delivered models that verified and approved for construction.
For construction drawings?
So literally,
no. I'm talking the next level below that. All right? They're not manufacturing drawings, right? How does a manufacturer then take your IFC files, your IFC drawings that you've issued in a 3D model, and commence manufacturing? How does he develop shop drawings from it? And does that happen? I don't know if it happens. I want to know.
And that's just the recycling of information.
Exactly.
How we can develop and verify our design informations that the fabrication team do not need to go start from scratch. They can recycle and build that information.
Develop
and
from
speed
it.
up the process. And that's happening on some of our projects.
It is happening?
Specifically in water sector. We coordinate even with supply chain. That they provided, as an example, tanks and equipment, etc.
Generators, whatnot. You can model
even
that.
Even 2 years ago, we don't have experience in New Zealand that supply chain provide digital informations that when in your federated environment that you have all the data, when you look at them, you cannot compare, is it a design model or is it the information provided with supplier? So literally high in the same level of accuracy and maturity. That happened because we didn't focus on pages of guideline. That happened because we focused on empowering people, educating people, understanding the challenges, and shaping our processes in a way that can consume and understand those data.
Okay, that's quite interesting, and I'm really glad that's happening. Right?
It's really slow.
It's all about how to scale that process now, Cham. But let's talk about just something else you mentioned a bit earlier than that. You said you reduced drawings, drawing sets, which is PDFs and 2D drawings, flat files that you issued by 50% on a particular project that you worked on.
Yes, and we read on that. So the saving of cost is that in NZ construction.
Let's start with how. How did you reduce drawings by 50%? What did you do differently?
Two things needs to be changed. Cultural change.
Control change.
Cultural. In people's mindset, and technological change. It's what's happening in that digital engineering needs.
When you say control change, you mean
cultural change, the culture and mindset of people. How, as an example, we verify a model. That's a big challenge.
Massive. I fully agree.
Big challenge.
And how does somebody then approve that portion of a 3D model and has a stamp on that model that says this is version number X that I have actually approved?
Exactly.
A validated engineer or verified engineer that says, structurally, its structural integrity is sound, and I verify that, and no change is made to that model.
A challenge that stops us that in some sectors we cannot do it. We have these thick barriers between consultancies and clients and operation teams and the commissioning teams.
But also insurance plays a big part.
Exactly, and innovation can happen when we remove boundaries. When we start looking at all those foundations and fundamentals that we created in terms of way of working, and we change the program mindset, how we bring designers, construction teams, programmers, clients, all in one room and say, we are a team. Our objective is not to develop a design.
Oh, hang on. We are a team with very different interests.
Yes.
That's the interesting bit. Okay, we can be a team where we all have different interests then, right?
But
so the client has different. Agreed. It's delivering that project on time, under budget, to the best health and safety standards you can, without hurting anybody ever. And to immaculate quality, of course. That's the goal. That's every project's goal. I understand that, but everybody have different drivers, though, right? Okay.
What's the biggest drive for organizations. Organizations want to improve their brand, they want to educate their people, and they want to make money. It's literally what organization.
And not hurt anybody.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just part of the brand and that health and safety requirements. And also sustainability aspects of each perspective of each organization. And when we look at these goals, when you go and look at all the organizations in NZ and overseas across the globe, it's everyone's objective.
Yep.
The challenge will happen is that we create a boundaries and we stage different part of each project. We just say, this is the design, this is your budget, this is the time frame, and deliverables is that exactly those things. No communication happens before that with the construction team. And when construction comes on board, they receive information, they find that from practicality perspective, constructability perspective, it's not good enough.
It's not feasible.
But imagine if from day one that you design, construction team can have impact on practicality of your design.
Yeah.
Imagine traditionally we issue drawings based on traditional design that happening in NZ for 95% of our project, 3 times. Concept design, develop design and detail. Imagine if you share that more than 400 times digitally. Imagine as a construction manager, you can have access to design information on a daily basis, and you can highlight that area, that part of design does not work. Please change it as soon as you can. And that stops rework. That stops engineers and designers.
And then that stops the paperwork going back and forth.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's what's happening in some of our projects.
Oh, mate, I've worked on a $40 million job where there was 2,600 RFIs raised.
Yeah.
That's insane.
And I'm working on a job about $20 million worth of budget. We expected by now, we have 300 RFIs based on traditional approaches. We had just 61. That's significant reducing number of RFIs. If every construction rework based on different sectors, but costs between 10K to 50K minimum. Imagine if you save 50 construction reworks. The impact on time, the impact on health and safety.
Huge. And improvement in quality. Exactly. It's huge.
And that's the promise of digital engineering. Digital engineering is about continuous improvement.
I agree.
It's not about developing fancy guidelines that change the world. It's not the case. We never can get to the best possible process because every day we can improve something. And that's the pace that often some of people that make decisions at a high level in construction industry, they miss, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And the way that I look at it, I look at it, we make decisions in 2 ways, infinite or defined. As an example, if I'm a politician, I'm in power for 3 years. I want to make a decision that in 3 years I get the result. Often I don't care about anything else beyond that. But if I was a politician that I didn't care about that 3 years that I'm in power, I made a decision that the citizens of my country have something tangible for next 50 years, even if I'm not in power.
That's a mindset change.
That's the piece that we are missing.
Yeah.
We need more infinite leaders that focus on practicality, simplicity, delivering values to our citizens. And it's not an issue that we have in New Zealand, it's a global issue.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, it is an absolute global issue. Yeah, man. This is, with that passion, I'm sure you can be a politician, man.
I never want to be a politician. I love implementation. And I believe that's the piece. We already have enough politicians.
Yeah.
What we don't have is people that are passionate to go and make things happen.
Yeah.
And it's what we're trying to achieve in our team.
Okay, what does the next 5 years look like for you? Where do you see BIM in the next 5 years?
I believe
in New Zealand, specifically in New Zealand.
I believe that BIM will be gone. We are not going to talk about it.
What are we going to talk about?
We talk about digital engineering and probably another buzzword because the cycle of changing. I see all these things as just purely name. The main concept that stays respecting structured information.
Agreed.
And the next 5 years, in some sectors, we are going to see the significant change. In some sectors, in construction industry, we are going to deliver the same things that we deliver today. Nothing is going to change because the mindset is not easy to change.
Mate, I have one more question for you.
Sure.
Are you looking for a job?
I'm really.
I'm happy to put out an offer here. With that passion and that drive, man, I'm sure we could collaborate and find ways to actually influence positive change onto the industry.
Yeah.
You know, because the stuff that you talk about and focus on it translates to a lot of what I focus on. It's for me, it's just with a time focus.
Yeah.
For you, it's with a complete digital focus. But I focus on managing time and good structured information. You focus on managing design information and really well structured information. There's a lot of synergies and place to collaborate here.
Sure thing. And I'm really lucky to work with the team. So that the size of our team grew by 4 times during the last 3 years.
Yeah.
And we are one of the youngest team in NZ construction industry.
Yeah.
And the reason behind it is that we are not in the market to find people with experience. If there is someone, it's fantastic. But if there is not, that's fine. Our focus is identifying young talents that we have in the industry. They are still studying, but they have a drive, they have passion, they are hungry to do something with their life.
Yeah, I've always said it doesn't matter what you know at this point in time. It's about the attitude you're willing to carry into work and your willingness to learn.
What's your big why?
That's it.
And we were lucky enough to have about 6 or 7 of them as a part of our team, and they are creating magic.
Yeah.
And our missions that we have, like our senior team members, is that it took us 16 to 20 years at the individual level to get to this point of our career. How we can fast track their progress that they can get to this point in 8 years.
So if I was a student,
yes,
and I wanted to get into digital engineering,
yes,
what's the one piece of advice you'd give me?
Connect with the people in the construction industry that are implementing these exercises. We have very good people in construction, like Matt Stanford. He's one of the best design manager and construction managers that we have. Yeah. And he has a vision, but he focuses on practicality. We have it in design, we have it within client organizations, within asset owners. Connect with those people. Don't think that if you want to get opportunities, just traditionally develop a good CV. No one reads CV anymore. Mm-hmm. Send them a text on LinkedIn. Just go and have a coffee with them. Just talk about your big why, and I promise you will get a job.
Man, that's great advice. That's a lot of how I found work. Oh, I still do find work. Okay. But anyways, hey man, that's been great. I love the passion, I love the drive, and Becca's really lucky to have you.
Oh, thank you.
I'll just put it out there. They are very lucky to have you.
Thank you
very much. Hey man, that was an amazing conversation. Do you have any questions for me? We're about time to wrap up. So
I'll just really appreciate for this chance, for inviting me.
My pleasure.
I'm really excited that finally we got a podcast in NZ purely focused on construction. That was a piece that we didn't have.
Yeah.
We always thought the communication should be about fancy seminars. But the beauty that I found about it, when I catch bus to go home, I can listen to your podcast. So please continue that.
Yeah, man, I will do my best. The whole purpose of this podcast is to provide people like yourselves a platform to voice your opinion, right? And I'm really passionate about the construction industry too. And hence this podcast, and hopefully it takes off. I don't know where it's going to go. We'll see. But once again, thank you so much.
Fantastic.
It's an absolute pleasure having you.
Likewise. Cheers. Thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you so much. Cheers.